Hi, so today we're going to look at what is a parent teacher and how do you start becoming a parent teacher. So this video is going to explore the 5 traits of a parent teacher, show you exactly how to support your child at home without feeling overwhelmed or underqualified. And you're also going to learn what a parent teacher is, what a parent teacher isn't, the simple habits that make a difference, and also how to become part of your child's success story starting today. So let's dive in. So the first thing we need to do is work out what a parent teacher is. Now, if you have a child over the age of 1, then you are a parent teacher because you are teaching. You have a child who you have to teach and you teach them. You teach them how to feed themselves. You teach them how to put on their clothes. You teach them how to use the bathroom. You are teaching, which makes you a parent teacher. Now, some people may argue and say, oh, yeah, but teaching is really down to academics. Now, if you want to stretch it, fine, stretch it. Even before they go to school, most parents start to teach their children the alphabet. They will teach their children numbers. They will teach their children how to count. If that is the case, you are still a parent teacher. Now, why is that important to know? You all obviously already know that, but why is that really important to know now? Well, the thing is, for a child to succeed in life, they need a team behind them. And that team includes themselves. And sometimes children don't feel like they're part of a team, but in order for a child to be successful, they need usually a teacher, their parent, and themselves who are willing to take part in the learning process. Now, when you don't have, or when a child does not have a strong team, meaning they're not even taking part as well, or their parent is out of the loop, or there isn't a strong connection between the parent, the child, and the teacher, then that's when problems usually tend to happen and children fall through the net. Okay, so it's really important that parents are aware that they are part of the process and that they are a parent teacher. Now, usually what happens is parents know they have to do certain things when their child is very young, like teach them to say the first words, teach them how to feed themselves, etc. But then when they hand over their child to school, they kind of then think that's it, they're redundant and they don't really have to do anything more because a teacher is going to do it. But that isn't the case. That really is not the case at all. In order for a child to be successful, the parent still needs to be very much involved because a child spends as much time outside of school, if not more so, than they do in school with their teacher. And with, usually over 20 children in a class, a teacher cannot give the child one-to-one attention like a parent can. So the parent still needs to be involved. And in order for a child to be successful, the child also needs to be engaged. But what happens is if the parent disengages, then the child disengages. And then a teacher is kind of pushing a child along to do their work that they can't do because the child suddenly disengaged. So, as well as a parent teacher being a parent that is engaging and teaching their child general everyday things like manners and how to behave appropriately and follow rules, etc. They also need to help academically in with their schoolwork in order for a child to be successful in school. Even if the parent doesn't teach the child, they still need to be actively involved so that the child knows that there is an expectation of them from their parent. And that's when you see children really do well in school. But that is not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about a parent just telling a child to do what to do and then expecting the teacher to do their bit. We're now talking about parents being engaged and actively being the parent teacher at home too, which is when we really see children fly. Now, the problem is a lot of parents want to be involved and they want to take part in, the child's education and they want their children to do well. But because they don't have a qualification or they don't feel that their opinion is valued, they tend to feel a bit despondent, especially when their child, goes off to school. They kind of take a step back and they think, oh, well, the teacher's qualified, I'm not, so what difference can I really make? But the reality is, you can make a huge difference. Now, the point of the parent teacher website is to empower parents so that they still feel part of the process rather than just handing their child over and then, it being like a lottery and then hoping that everything will work out. This is where a parent can actually engage with their child, keep on top of things, and know that their child is doing well or not doing well, and then be able to do something about it. So that is the point of the parent teacher. And I'm going to show you what you need to do in order to engage and make sure that your child is on track to be successful. So there are 5 things that you need to do in order to be a good parent teacher. Number 1, you need to be present. Now, when I say present, obviously when your child is at home, you think, oh, I'm present, I'm there, I'm present. But no, what I'm referring to is you need to give your child at least 10 to 15 minutes every day where you are focusing on something that they can learn from you. Now, it could be that you read them a bedtime story. It could be as simple as that. 10, 15 minutes, you sit with them, you read to them, and that's it. You're done. But if there are other things that your child needs to learn, they're struggling with, then you need to spend about 10 minutes. Do you know, even if you don't have 10, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, make sure that every day you actually engage with your child for a minimum of 5 minutes, up to 15 minutes, where you are actively teaching your child something. Even if you're not teaching, listen to them and find out what they have learned. Now, that is crucial because it isn't just for their academics, because you can turn around and say, oh, well, a teacher can do that. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is building a relationship with your child. Actually, having a strong relationship with your child gives them confidence. And when they have confidence and when they know that you're interested in what they're doing, how they're getting on, if they're struggling, that there's somebody there, it makes a world of difference to your child. So you need to be present for your child for at least 5 to 15 minutes each day, every day. And I don't just mean, you're there, physically there, like making them breakfast and whatever, but you actually sit and talk to them face to face, eye contact, even if it's, you've just read them a story for 5 minutes and then you're talking about the story, etc. Just give them that time. Be present for just that time, if that is all the time that you have in the day. And then that will make a huge difference to their confidence and that will give them the foundation to grow from. So minimum 5 to 15 minutes every day, and then you can grow from there. Now, number 2, the next thing that they need is for you to be prepared, meaning you need to know what's going on in their life. Now, they are going to go to school and there are going to be certain things that they're doing in the classroom, learning about in the classroom. And if you're not aware of it, then you can't help them. And if they get stuck and they come to you and they say, oh, I'm stuck on this homework, or oh, I couldn't do this in school and it was too difficult, etc. And then you turn around and you say, oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. That really does not give them much confidence. And if there is something that they're doing in school that you don't understand, that makes it doubly harder for them to understand because then they automatically think, oh, well, if it's hard for you, then obviously it's hard for them. And if you can't do it, then they can't do it. Okay. So by palming off a problem that your child has in school actually gives them a lack of confidence, not in you, but in themselves. Because if you can't do it, then they definitely can't do it. So they don't only come to you for help, they come to you for reassurance. Now, you might not be able to help them, but then you have to turn it around and say, do you know what? I'm not sure, but I'll find out. Now, by doing that, you're teaching them that every time they have a problem, they can find out, or you will find out, and you will look for a solution. Whereas if you turn around and say, I haven't got a clue, let your teacher fix that, or somebody else will sort that out, then they will also turn around and think, oh, well, if this is what happens when I have a problem, then I will leave it for somebody else to fix, or somebody else will sort it out. And they don't have to. So you've got to be very, very careful about the lessons you're actually teaching your children without even realizing that that is what you're teaching them. So the point of being a parent teacher is not to look at a problem and go, not my problem, somebody else can sort it out. You look at the problem and go, okay, there is a problem here. I'm not sure how to fix it. I know you can't fix it. Let's try and find a solution. And then you actively go and find that solution. Now, I have the parent teacher support group for that very reason, so that you can come and find the solutions to the problems that your child may be having in school or you may be having teaching them, and so that there is somewhere for you to go. Okay? The next thing, number 3, that you need is patience. Now, this is really hard for adults in general. I found this really hard when I started teaching because when I actually did my degree and got my teaching qualification and everything, when I had to go back into the classroom and teach to the child's level, I had to dumb down everything that I'd learned up to university level and bring it right back down to grassroots. And I'm not joking, it was painful. It was painful. I had to change my language. I had to change the way I looked at things, what I thought was easy. The children didn't understand. They didn't understand what I was saying. And it was hard work to go backwards and revisit what I'd learned like years ago. And as a parent teacher, it can be challenging to look at things simplistically when you've got to a certain level and you want to stay at that level and you want to operate there, but then you have to deal with your child and they're looking at words and in their book and they don't understand and you're thinking, like, why is this so difficult? And so you need to have the patience to understand that once upon a time you were like your child and you struggled just like your child did. And the way that I look at it is if I had to learn a new foreign language, how easy would it be for me to learn a new foreign language? You've got to think about how embarrassed you would be if you get it wrong, what people will think of you, and all of these things that come into your head. This is what your child is going through as they're trying to learn now. And you need to be mindful of that. And even though something is easy for you now, that is challenging for your child. Just like if I was going to go to France and start talking in French, even though I did French in school, I still wouldn't be able to understand half the things, a French person was saying. And I would probably have to go back and be really embarrassed and have to learn, the new words and new phrases and things that are learnt anyway from a book is not the same as how it's spoken in real life. So there's all of these things, all these nuances that you might have now, which your child needs to learn. So you need to have patience. You need to give them grace that they are going to make mistakes, and that is okay. Just like if you went out there and you were trying to learn something new, you would want that grace and that patience from somebody else so that you could learn it too. Okay. Number 4, partnership. You need to, if your child is in school especially, you need to build a strong bond with their teacher, because at the end of the day, that is part of your child's team. Your child is sandwiched between you and their teacher. So in order for your child to do well, it is a really good idea to form that strong bond with their teacher so that you can support that child, your child, the best that you can. Okay, now the teachers are there to ensure that the children get the highest grades possible. So a teacher will be more than happy to engage with you and work with you for the good of your child, because at the end of the day, it benefits the teacher and it benefits the school that your child gets the best grades that they can get. And if your child is confident and happy, then you're confident and happy in the school too. So it is a really good idea to form a good, strong bond with your teacher and find out what it is that your child needs to achieve, what they need to do in order to do well. Now, if your child doesn't go to school because you're homeschooling or home educating, then that's not a partnership you need to obviously worry about, but you will need to build partnerships elsewhere. So if there's other people who are homeschooling as well that you can meet up with, there are co-ops and even family members who can help out, then build those partnerships for the sake of your child, because it takes a village to raise a child. They can't be raised in isolation. So you need to make, some effort in order to build partnerships around your child. Okay. And then number 5, be positive. It is so important to be positive about your child's learning, about their future, about what they're doing, because if you're not, they're not going to be confident. And if they're not confident, then you've lost the battle before you've even started. So that is not a good foundation to grow from. So you have to be extra confident, extra positive in order for your child to get that enthusiasm and for them to run with it. Okay. So learning itself is hard enough. It is challenging for a child. And if they have a negativity around them to reinforce their own negativity, then they're just going to dig themselves an even deeper hole. So for that sake alone, it is really important that you are extra positive. And I'm not saying that you're not going to have your own anxieties and problems, and your child will probably feel those anyway. But you need to try and keep those to yourself and be as positive as you can towards your child. Now, I don't mean be toxically positive in the sense of, there's a problem there, let's just put a happy smiley face sticker on it and forget about it and it'll be fine. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is looking into the future and going, your child's going to grow up one day, they're going to become an adult, they're going to be fine, because that is a while off, because you have enough time to fix the problems that you have now and you're working towards a bright goal. So by positive, I mean have in mind that it will all work out fine for your child. And whatever happens on the way, no matter how many detours you take, at the end, you will reach the goal that you need to get to. Okay. It's a bit like if I was going to go on holiday and let's say I wanted to go to Cyprus, I am going to take the steps to get to Cyprus. So, for example, I will go and book my ticket. I will go to the airport. I will get myself onto the plane. I will make sure my luggage is on there. And when I get to the other side, take my luggage off and get to my hotel. And I've got there. Now, if I started at the beginning and thought, I'm going to lose my luggage and, oh, what if there's a storm and what if I don't get there? And I wouldn't even bother going. If I stressed myself out at the beginning, why would I even go in the first place? So you need to be positive that the destination that you're going to with your child, the life that they're going to have at the end is going to be where you want them to be. It doesn't matter that there was a storm on the plane. It doesn't matter that the luggage got lost, because the luggage will arrive afterwards. Okay. As long as you have that positive outlook, then everything should work out fine because it is a destination that you're going to, but you need to make sure that you know and your child knows that you are going to get there. Now, before I wrap up, what I need you to understand also is that you do not need to be perfect to be a good parent teacher. At the end of the day, we're all human. We all make mistakes. Your child's going to make mistakes. And as long as you understand and accept that making mistakes is part of the process, then your child will fly further than anybody else because we grow from making mistakes. That's how we learn. And if it's okay, then they'll be fine. Okay. You also don't need tons and tons of fancy materials to teach your child at home. Everyday life is going to help them learn. And at the parent teacher, I will show you how you can use everyday scenarios and everyday situations to teach your child too. You don't need to recreate school at home either, because home is home, school is school, and your home does not have 20 other children in it. So there's no point. Okay. And that way of learning in school is specifically made to teach large groups of children. You do not have large groups of children to teach at home. So you don't need to recreate school at home. Okay. You've got one child, two children, kitchen table. That's all you need. That's fine. Okay. And you don't need to spend like a whole hour sitting with your child teaching them. Not necessary. They take an hour in school because it takes that long to get round as many children as they can. Okay. Children literally only need 5, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes max of your time teaching them something because the brain actually cannot process more than 20 minutes of information. So otherwise it's information overload. So don't think you need to spend hours and hours teaching your child because you don't. So I hope you found that helpful and useful. If you need any resources or any more support, then head over to the Parent Teacher start.theparentteacher.co.uk website and join the support group there, and I will help you there. And also sign up to my magazine. And yeah, if you like this video, then subscribe, hit the bell notification, and join me on the next video. See you soon. Bye.